Welcome to the Full-Time Life podcast. I'm Steph, and I'm a former corporate girly turned yogi and full-time lifer. Full-time life is all about acknowledging that the concept of work-life balance is flawed. There's no such thing as work separate and apart from life. It's all just life. And my mission is to provide tools and resources to help you design your best life so you can live it to the hilt. Let's dive in. On this week's episode, we are talking all things morning routine necessities. Let's begin by getting grounded in the terminology. Morning routine is those things you do between when you wake up and when your first commitment begins. That's morning routine. It is a full spectrum of activities, possibly, best case scenario. And the necessities are the beginning of that morning routine. So the necessities are going to be those things that you do regardless of how much time you actually have to work with in the morning. And you can think of these kind of like personal hygiene activities. So things like brushing your teeth, getting dressed, maybe making your bed, maybe having coffee. These are the personal hygiene things that are going to be your essentials. It's different from movement or working out or mindfulness, which we may refer to as non-negotiable. These are just the things you're going to do regardless. So think of them as personal hygiene type activities. The full-time life blueprint for a morning routine, I'll include a link in the show notes so that you can just download the free PDF and it's the full formula. But just know that it begins with necessities. Once you get through the necessities, you can do the rest in any order, but it begins with these personal hygiene type activities. I've said this a few times, and so it's worth saying here as well. I say a lot that you have a morning routine, whether you realize it or not. And most of the time, what I'm talking about is these necessities. So even if you just say, I don't have time for a morning routine, you do. You have things that you wake up, you have a morning routine, you do have time, whether it's 1 minute or 1 hour. And that's just these things that you're going to do before you get on with living your life and living your day. So let's just say some things to note about necessities before we get in. Two things that I think are important to note. Only you will know for sure what your necessities are. I can share what they are. I can share, for example, a lot of people maybe brush their teeth, get dressed, make their bed, but only you can know for sure what's absolutely necessary for your personal hygiene before you walk out the door. You don't have to share it. I don't need to know it. I'm definitely not judging it. It may be fewer things or more things than what I'm talking about. And so I just want to, as you kind of internalize this conversation around necessities, only you can know for sure what's going to be absolutely necessary for your personal hygiene. And that is a-okay with me. The second thing that I think that is important to note about necessities is I'm really going to advocate for you to move through these as quickly as possible. This is not because I want you to be productive or efficient or anything like that. And I certainly don't want you to wake up in the morning thinking, I got to go, I got to keep up, I got to catch up, I got to go, do. Not at all. The necessities, the reason why you want to move through them as quickly as possible is because they're not going to give you a lot of bang for your buck for energizing and empowering your day. Are they things you absolutely need to get done? Yes, you're going to do them whether you need to or not, but they're not going to provide a lot of hits on empowerment or energize. And so you really just want to move through them as quickly as possible. And so in this podcast, I'm giving you opportunities, examples to do that. But just know that it's not out of any sort of like productivity and efficiency. It's because I want you to get to the really good stuff, the good stuff of movement, mindfulness, learning, these things that are going to wake up your brain and your body and fuel your day. So that you can feel like you can own your morning and own your day. All of that's going to come from the rest of the morning routine. And the necessities are just, they are what they are. You have to get them done, and you want to get it done and get going on with to the good stuff. So that's what I want to share about kind of just understanding that only you will know what they are. And in this conversation, I'm advocating for you to move through them as quickly as possible. A quick story, personal story on my end. I can absolutely dawdle in the necessities. I don't know why I do it. Some days I do, some days I don't. Sometimes think I'm procrastinating getting to the good stuff. And so it's helpful for me to think through these strategies to eliminate the time suck of necessities so that I can move on with it. And I absolutely know that I'm delaying and it's eating into my time for my morning routine. And so much so that I hate when it steals money. I hate when it steals time. If time is money, then it's stealing money too. But I hate when it steals time from my morning routine and I can't get through everything I wanted to get through. So that's why I'm really passionate about getting in and moving on as quickly as possible. And the moral of all of this isn't the good stuff, the necessities. It's just personal hygiene. Get it done and get going. Okay, on to the meat of this episode, which is ideas for avoiding the time suck of your necessities. This is a common formula format for productivity, which is why I wanted to have that conversation earlier. It's not because I think that you should be a machine and move through as quickly as possible, but it's because once you get to the good stuff. So there's 4 different areas that we can think about in terms of ideas for avoiding the time suck. It is automate, eliminate, delegate, and procrastinate. We're going to walk through what each of those might look like for your necessities, and I'll give you some examples from my end. Let's start with automate. A lot of us think of automation as technology, and that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about what can you do ahead of time so that you can just grab and go in the morning. Think of automation as setting it and forgetting it so that, and it's a lot of times it involves setting something up the night before, but it's so you can set it up and so that morning you just has to grab and go to get out the door for the actual morning routine or go into the space where your actual morning routine is going to happen. It already, when I say automation, I mean that you're trying to get creative around how you can get most of these necessities mostly done for you. So it doesn't require a lot of time, energy, or extra steps to get it done in the morning. And so let's talk about some examples and what this might look like. For the necessity of getting dressed, if that, and I also advocate that you can absolutely do your morning routine in your pajamas, but if getting dressed is part of an essential thing, a necessary thing, then all you would do is just pick out your clothes the night before. It just allows you to get up, move through kind of the motions of getting dressed without a lot of decision fatigue, without a lot of drama, just like get up, get dressed, and go. And so that's kind of what getting dressed, that's how you would automate getting dressed. For coffee, this is the number one thing I think that people will automate, and that is doing as much as you can the night before if coffee is one of your necessities, so that in the morning you can just grab and go. You don't have 10 steps to make your complicated coffee, or maybe I'm just talking about myself. I've got lots of little steps. I either set it up the night before or I move to another step of procrastinate. Brushing teeth, I don't really have an automation for this. I'm absolutely not going to preload my toothbrush with toothpaste in order to automate it. But if you have an automation for brushing teeth or any other necessity, I'd love to hear it. I think that a lot of these things you kind of have to get creative on. And those are kind of the easy buttons, going ahead and doing things the night before so you can have them automated for you in the morning. The second idea for action for eliminating the time sucks is to eliminate it altogether. There's a lot of things that we do because we maybe think they're necessary, but they may not even be that necessary. So, for example, making your bed is a wonderful thing. There is a whole graduation speech on the merits of making your bed that was then turned into a book. And the whole idea, this book posits that starting your day with this one thing completed will set you up for momentum for your day. And maybe it will, but so does morning routine. So just decide if making your bed is really important. Is it really important to make your bed before you get into your morning routine? Maybe the answer is yes. Maybe the answer is no. For full disclosure, it is for me. It's almost something that is on autopilot. So just kind of like brushing my teeth. There's not a lot of decision that goes into it. I just get up and make my bed. So for me, I actually do that. But if on days when I know that I'm feeling like I may be delaying my morning routine, I'll skip it all together because I know it's just kind of a delay tactic and it's really not that essential. So think about, as you think through your necessities, okay, I always do this and I always do that. And we're talking about personal hygiene type things. Think about whether or not you can eliminate it altogether if it's really that essential. That's idea for action number 2. The third way that you can start to eliminate this time suck is to delegate any of your necessities. This may not always be possible. It's most likely to be possible in scenarios where you have a roommate or a spouse or a significant other that you can delegate to, that's sleeping in the same bed or the same household as you. But still, you may have to get creative. But can you delegate any of your necessities? Back to the making bed example. If it's really important for you to have a tidy home, and I get it, then if you share a bed with someone, maybe you can delegate the responsibility to them. So just thinking about, is there anything within my necessities that I can delegate? You're not going to be able to delegate brushing your teeth, I don't think. Again, if you have ideas for delegating, then that I'd love to hear them. But for the most part, just getting creative. Is there anything that absolutely needs to get done, but you can delegate it to someone else in the same household or technology or otherwise? The fourth area, the word procrastinate in and of itself is such a forbidden word, such a bad word. It's not a bad word here. So we're talking automate, eliminate, delegate, and finally procrastinate. And what I mean by procrastinate is if there's something, a necessity, like maybe coffee or eating or breakfast or whatever, is it something you can procrastinate to after your morning routine or later in the day? So you're just asking, if, when you look at your list of necessities, is can it wait? Does it need to be done right away when you wake up? I'll use the example of coffee. Because I'm a big coffee lover. I love coffee. I love it first thing in the morning. I love it after morning routine. I love it in the afternoon. And the question is, can you procrastinate your coffee from right when you wake up to at least after your morning routine? And this way it can act like a little bit of a reward for your morning routine. I will tell you what the experts say specifically on this topic about coffee. Andrew Huberman would say that he suggests that you wait 90 to 120 minutes after waking up for your first cup. And there's lots of science behind that. So you can go look that up. He has a whole episode on coffee. But if you're thinking about like, why would I delay my coffee? That's what I think. Then that's what he would say. And James Clear would say, and James Clear is the author of Atomic Habits, that your best bet in creating any new habits, and obviously morning routine is a habit exercise, is to habit stack. And so what that would look like with coffee is when you move coffee from the beginning, because you love it so much and you're going to have it anyways, to the end, it becomes a habit stack. And so it becomes, once you stack these habits, it's obviously you're going to get that coffee on the tail end. And so really effective way for establishing new habits. So just an idea, when I talk about procrastination, I'm just saying, is it something that can wait to the end? If you work out by yourself and you don't see any people between when you wake up and when you're done with your morning routine, maybe you don't even need to brush your teeth first thing. Controversial opinion. I always brush my teeth, but there are things that could you just delay them? If you really like making your bed, can you procrastinate it to later? That's what I'm talking about when I talk about procrastination. So the call to action for this episode is to think about your necessities. List them out if you have to. Think about all of the things that are part of your personal hygiene routine. Get creative so that you can get through those necessities as quickly as possible so you can get to the good stuff. And the ways you may get creative are through the 4 different things we talked about here, which is to automate, eliminate, delegate, or procrastinate. And if none of those things work, then just get them done. Just get those tasks and activities done so you can move on. And you're prioritizing. The whole point is you want to prioritize the good stuff of the morning routine that's going to fuel your brain and your body with your momentum for the day. I'll end this podcast episode with some creative stories of my own of how I've gotten creative over the years, especially when it comes to the necessities of the day. Over a decade ago, I lived in New York more recently, but over a decade ago when I was in New York, and I had a group fitness class most mornings at 5 a.m. And the moving through my necessities as quickly as possible became really essential, because if I could move through those necessities quickly, then I didn't have to wake up as early. And already when you're waking up, when four is in the front of when four is the first number in the alarm clock, it's already alarming. And I don't want to spend 30 minutes in necessities. I want to get it done as quickly as possible. And I really implemented a lot of these strategies of how can I get creative to automate, eliminate, delegate, or procrastinate. So I automated accountability in the sense that I had a friend that also went to the class that lived nearby that would meet me on the corner at a certain time. And that was a way for me to set it and forget it. There's no negotiating with my morning self. I've got my friend Tammy waiting at the corner that I gotta meet my commitment to her. And it really got me going in the morning in terms of really like that efficiency of I have someone depending on me. I delegated meals. Now, I'm not someone who eats first thing in the morning, but I did outsource all of my meals. So there was no extra, like a lot of times I would go right to work from this group fitness class. And so I delegated my meals. So there was no need to I've got to pack my food for the day. All of that was delegated. I would grab and go. It goes back to this kind of like grab and go concept. I eliminated any drama with getting dressed in the morning by putting my clothes out the night before. And I definitely procrastinated making my bed because that is just an extra 30 seconds so I could have a sleep, and it was not necessary at the time. When I was really pressed for time, and I might be embarrassed to say this, but it's fine. It was 10 years ago me. I would even sleep in my gym clothes the night before just to make it so efficient. I could literally roll out of bed, grab my bags that I set the night before, and be out the door in 90 seconds or less. That was very extreme. That is not my life now. But it just goes to the point of getting creative, knowing what you need to get done, knowing what you want to do for your morning routine. In that case, it was a group fitness class, and getting creative about how you can get to the good stuff as quickly as possible. Today, I automate accountability with my family. We do not work out together. We don't do our movement together in person, but we do it virtually. And so we automate a lot of that by picking things out the night before. I have that accountability, and then I tell them that I will be there with them virtually at a certain time. Even though they can't see me, I really take that seriously. And there's other things that I kind of delegate, procrastinate. Some mornings I'll procrastinate making my bed. And this idea of procrastinating coffee, I ebb and flow. Sometimes I just need it before I begin, but it's a really great hack to do it on the back end. And maybe next week, I'll start doing that. I hope this gave you some ideas for action for your own morning routine. Remember that you have these necessities, whether you realize it or not, and that in your morning time, which is kind of your time just for yourself, what can you do to automate, delegate, procrastinate, eliminate? One other thing I'll say about eliminate is if any part of your necessities, or that the things that may seem like a necessity, is technology driven, as your iPhone or your email, those you are going to want to procrastinate, or they're going to want to eliminate them entirely from your necessities and possibly procrastinate to the other side of your morning routine. And that you may have to get creative around. You may have to change your mindset around. That tends to be the biggest time suck for most people. I didn't really go through it here, but I think it bears mentioning that sometimes the biggest time suck is if you have your alarm on your phone. I don't have my phone nearby. If your alarm is on your phone, it's the first thing you pick up, and sometimes just sucks you in. That is not a necessity. That's not a personal hygiene. That is absolutely something that is going to prevent you from getting to the good stuff. And so but you can use the same strategy of what can I do to automate certain things, procrastinate it to after morning routine so you can get to the good stuff and get on with your day. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you on the next episode. My highest hope is that this episode gave you some ideas for action for your morning routine. If you need additional support, I've added a link in the show notes to download my free blueprint for designing your personal morning routine. And you can always find me on Instagram and Facebook at Fulltime Lifestyle, and my website is www.fulltimelife.style. Thanks for listening.